Welcome to Fortune Forecast. I am Daisy, your hostess, and in this video, we are heading onward to the next chapter of the book titled The Gist of It for Healing, Health, and Happiness, written by Dr. Haydon Rochester. New to my channel and found us at this video, welcome. You can actually grab the previous chapters in my book playlist, and to our Fortune community, welcome back. Hopefully you're enjoying this book. In the previous chapter, the author was talking about the consideration about the good health and healing, and how much of it has to do with some really common sense things like, getting fresh air and drinking water and getting good rest and eating good food and exercising. And so all these things add to the component of a healthy life. And also the superstitions that we may carry in our mind about, are these diseases hereditary? And interesting, this is a doctor, keep in mind, he was saying a lot of this stuff is just made up in our mind. Very few diseases are really passed on through heredity. I didn't say that there weren't any, but there are very few. He was saying that the majority of them are made up in our mind. In his chapter about healing, he actually stated that it is very possible for people that want to transform their life, their bodies, their mind, their life itself, that if there is a choice and a desire, this is all in the mind, a desire, that a personal reconstruction can actually take place as long as we continuously progress with a constructive living that is compatible with good health, so that all the energies that we have within this organism we can use to its maximum performance. And that's the thing that I've learned in life, is that there's really an easy answer, yet there are plentiful temptations that attempt to derail us if we don't have the will to stay the course. And it may seem like a monotonous life, yet won't be a life if we don't take care of the organism that allows us to go skydiving, to swimming, to hiking, to go start businesses and interact with others. In my opinion, things in moderation are just fine. And to listen to the body, to listen to your gut, to listen to and pay attention to the environment as it is responding to you. I believe in my life, that's one thing that has worked for me. And many times, I have fallen off that wagon and have allowed others to have a say in my journey. And sometimes it gets frustrating, especially when you are part of a group and you're focused on parenting, or you're focused on getting a mission done, and you have to make these intense compromises. But I can assure you, having lived so far till 60, and hopefully if God wants me to do greater things, I will continue on. But I can assure you what I've learned is that as you begin to understand yourself, something magical happens. Life gets sweeter. Having said that, the next chapter might shine some light in what I've just shared. Let's move on to part 3, the attainment. Subjectivity. Up to this point, our problem has been presented and its various phases dealt with from the exclusively objective or concrete standpoint, and as though these specific manifestations and procedures were all that there was to be considered or availed of. As a matter of fact, however, the objective or phenomenal phase of life is but an infinitesimal and ephemeral fraction of the infinite whole of reality, from out of which all that manifests is a showing forth, and back into which it is resolved again. Just like crystals from out of their matrix flux, which redissolves and can reproduce them, and thus is not only their source, but their medium of existence, their renewal, and their immortality as well. The subconscious. On a previous page, we made reference to the subconscious mind as being that major portion of the self in which are enacted all those usually annotated, automatic, or reflex activities our more delicate and deeper reactions to situations and people, the reception of those indescribable telepathic or premonitory impressions, add, in fact, all the functions of being, except those to which one is giving a tentative regard, and which latter are then called conscious, as distinguished from the unnoted but preponderant subconscious. To illustrate these principles, let us assume that I meet someone. I see them and hear them, and thus know how they look and what they say. I also consider my impression upon them and frame my own expression to them. And this is about the limit of what takes place consciously or in full cognizant awareness. But subconsciously, what an infinitude of exchanges and reaction, impalpable but irresistible, which determine the entire character of the meeting and its resultants far, far more than what is merely seen, or heard, or said. For this takes place in that vast, all-comprehensive subconscious or subjective and real realm which it is the purpose of these lines to try and tell of. Again, I enter a room and at once am aware of the attitude of all the people in it toward me, whether they turn and regard me or not. One can also many times feel himself regarded when mentally ignorant of any personal presence whatsoever, or even the unconsciously sensible of the gaze of unseen animals in the vicinity, all of which reveals a communication and transference above, beyond, and exceeding that of the specialized perceptive channels, and by which they are transcended. But still this is not all, for many finely organized ones frequently, and all at some time, will have experienced the reception of true impressions from other persons at a distance, or from events farther on in the future, to which specific phenomena the names telepathy and premonition have been given. And now, whereby, wherein, or whence? The answer is subjectively in or by the limitless, all-sensing, and all-generating subconscious mind, better called extra-conscious, since it is not just below, but also above, around, and in and through, and thus contains and really procreates all objectivity. Substance. Inasmuch as it is universal truth that we are seeking to expound, let us consider substance, composed, as we know, of atoms, and these in turn of vibrant constellations of orbit-chasing electrons, each one of which is a focus point of concentrated energy, a charge of so-called negative electricity, the ultimate of all that we know of objective things. Libido. On previous pages, it has been shown that all that we are is conditioned by desire, that well-being or disease is determined by harmonious balance or the reverse among basic impelling motives, that lesions are produced by the precipitation of the arbitrarily repressed inherent energies, or growth advanced through wise, constructive, and beautiful expression of them. To signify all that is meant by desiring or wanting, needing, yearning, loving, caring, which compose all instincts of prompting, there has been selected the all-inclusive word libido, which embraces all that there is in these and more, and this may then signify the inner cosmic pressure which, caring so for creation, uttered, "Let there be light," and then stood manifest physically in the first luminous nebula, and on through all the matter that has followed. God. So substance then is energy, and energy is desire, all producing as above, and desire is of God, all loving and all cherishing, whence we came, wherein we exist and are renewed, and to whom we return to be received again with whatever has been gleaned from life's attritions. Space, therefore, is not empty, dotted here and there with suns and planets, but rather is it filled, continuous and vibrant with life, palpitant and fecund, the life of the Spirit, limitless and eternal, the supreme matrix of us and of all that is, and in which we need but rest to be reborn. What and where? What and where are the stars? They are energized constellation participations of the ardent love of God, resting in his very bosom. What and where is an atom? It is the same in microcosm. What and where is a crystal? It is a manifestation in discrete form of, out of, and in its own primordial flux. What and where is a thought? It is a formulated condensation in individualized mind of a feeling derived from the whole of libido, which always finds first expression for new manifestation in terms of what is already existing. What and where are you and I? We are free. We are free, choosing units of divine intention, sustained and matrixed in infinite mind, which then is paramount, the fractional, ephemeral, confusing objective, or the boundless, inexhaustible, serene, subjective all. The above lines have been written to show to those who need that there is the subjective, that it is the infinite, omnipotent source of all renewing, healing, maintaining, and supply, of which there is nothing created that is independently self-sufficient, and that it lies all around and is saturated through us, merely waiting to be availed of, and often not even waiting, but prompting or presenting what is for our good before we know it. If a crystal is cracked or shattered or defective, can it be repaired by mere objective contact with other crystals? Or be enhanced or made more perfect by competitive contemplation of its fellows? Of course not. But it is repaired, renewed, and perfected by resolution in its matrix, and taking time to reform perfectly in accord with true intention. So the soul and its body find their only real restoring and reblending with the infinite, which is but waiting to receive and replenishes without effort, by way of the unseparated unity of all. To purify air in a room, you have but to open apertures to the admission of all atmosphere, and at once the room is fresh and vital. No effort is required then. The outside air was but waiting. Likewise, your extra-conscious mind, and likewise God, who in one of his aspects is this, and would redeem you now. Extra-conscious mind. Your extra-conscious mind, then, is the divine reality of you, bearing the same proportional importance to your conscious thinking as does the bulk of the positive sphere of an atom to its gyrating negative electrons, which relatively are as dispersed and infrequent as the planets in a solar system, or the mere formulated thoughts in the entire reach of your mind. It is the so-called interstellar of intra-atomic space, which is the fertile real. Likewise, it is your extra-conscious mind which sustains you and provides you with all that you have or are. So learn to trust it utterly. And already, perhaps, it has been perceived that the so-called space is not divided off in measured quantities among its demarcating precipitations, but rather is diffused freely and interchangeably throughout, just as the air, whether temporarily confined in a room or freely circulating outside, is all one atmosphere, with all of its subcomponents universally distributed. So to speak the truest, we would simply say extra-conscious mind, instead of referring to yours or mine, and now it can be realized how all the so-called subconscious phenomena which were spoken of at first come to transpire, as well as all others, including even that of absent treatment. For through the continuity of the intervening vibrant medium, these subjective transferences are incessantly taking place, and their perception and beneficence is only hindered by excessive concern and intrigue with the pseudo-primary objective. things, persons, or premises. Realization. Any who might care to test this conclusion or verify it for themselves by actual experience can do so without hindrance. Simply disengage yourself from objectivity for a space. Detach from all habitual activity, mental or physical, and permitting yourself to perceive through your perhaps previously unrecognized fourth dimensional comprehension, where everything is realized through unformulated, you will secure evidence of your own for yourself. For as stated before in another way, knowledge can only come to one first in terms of what they already know. And to gain this knowledge, you must open your own channel for it to come to you. Yet, the true realization is not objective and cannot be, being otherwise, so do not speak to objectify it or strive for it objectively, for it is of the soul, which itself is never seen, nor heard, nor felt, nor otherwise perceived, but only known. Signs. Yet there have been vouchsafed for those who care principles for guidance in this vast unchartable realm, principles sometimes couched in seemingly contradictory, cryptic language as the law of resistance and non-attachment. Seek in the heart of source of evil and expunge it. Stand aside in the coming battle, and though thou fightest, be not thou the warrior. A man's foes shall be they of his own household. Cast thy bread upon the waters. Forsake wife and child, and follow me. I will not let thee go until thou bless me. As ye sow, so shall ye also reap. Become as a little child. Confess your sins one to another. Divine love always has met and always will meet every human need. He that loseth his life shall save it. I and my Father are one. Be perfect. Metaphysics. And there are yet other, more explanatory statements embodied in what is known as the science of metaphysics, which says that the vast unknown is like a mirror, yielding back in true reflection just whatever is projected into it. That to reap we need but sow, only taking care to cast the right mental seed, for whichever is sown comes up in its turn. And we know that this is true. So if it is health, if it is happiness, if it is prosperity that we would reap, let us project it, for whatever we purvey is in this fair-dealing mart received and dealt back in due course, with but the interest of an enlightening lesson added. The supremely vital conclusion from all that has gone before, with all the complexities, is that the attitude of mind is what determines all. And this itself, if unhealthy, will change as soon as one cares for its changing, when, in accordance with what we have just mentioned, the harvest will be gathered, and as soon. For all that is took its origin in mind, and whatever is conceived in mind comes into being. So let us start fresh, freed from the husk of outworn preconceptions, and build a new estate for ourselves and for the world. Application. And since for this it is fresh new thoughts that we should be thinking, we must detach and disengage ourselves from the old. But that is hard and requires practice. So let us take occasion when the hour is propitious and secure secluded quiet, safe from any interruption, and first tranquilize our bodies to ensure from their distraction, then disperse the petulant thinking that has crystallized our minds. In this fallow receptivity, when it is in fact established, there can then come whatsoever we permit ourselves response to, and whatever we receive shall forthwith be conceived and born. So let us select an attainment in advance, to get response in, and begin to use this resource in accordance with a plan. For those who would appreciate some guidance in this practice, there has been devised a process by true thinkers for their use. Formula. First of all, then, set your standard. Predetermine what you need. For the uncreate is all fecund and brings forth whatever you breed. Having done this, then get quiet. Place your body in repose, for the mind must be untroubled by the body or its pose. Now grow passive, all unthinking, freed from thoughts with but distract, for this is a pregnant process in which intellect does not act. Thrust all futile, petty thinkings out from hence at this great time, for there is to be creation, and that privilege is sublime. Concentrate your reach of interest down to a focus clear and still, into which then cast your image of the thing that you would will. Quiet now, all breath suspended, fix this image in its womb, for the seed must be implanted, that the plant may come to bloom. Pause and breathe now, making vital all that you have willed should be, for conception has been started, and the birth must be made free. Yet dwell a space in rapt oblivion, that gestation may advance, for it is a virile brainchild that we would have of our trance. And if you have taken exception to this rhythm and want prose, there have been profound psychologists who true formula here propose. 1. Set your standard of attainment in advance. 2. Assume a condition of utter physical relaxation. 3. Render the mind absolutely passive and cleared of all objective thinking. 4. Concentrate intellection down to the point of fixation of consciousness merging into 5. Subjective meditation, or mental abstraction, which state constitutes the point of absolute susceptibility to impression, or the psychological moment. 6. Project the clear image of the attainment desired. 7. Fix this in retentive abstraction so that it becomes the predominant mental impression, which is the absolute determinant of everyone's life. Advice. One should commence by definitely disposing of every single element, both outside and in, which could prove distracting, and the unpracticed and possibly baffled health seeker would do well to select as his first simple predetermined standard that of restoration, without any other, until the procedure is easily engaged in. While all beginners should confine themselves to just one step at a time until that one is completely mastered. For by doing this, they will find the succeeding ones come of themselves and much more easily. Yet hold in mind that there is no limitation whatsoever, and that the infinite of everything is for you: health, happiness, freedom, power, opulence, success, unfoldment. For with man not all things are possible, but with God, and it is God that we here avail. So listen for, receive, and give full measure of response to his prompting. Moreover, since we all need renourishing, both spiritually and mentally, there is offered now for your subjective contemplation the following inspired life plan, to be first truly conceived in mind, that it may materialize in life. Life plan. I can be what I want to be, and I can express in my life all the power, freedom, beauty, and abundance that I desire, and even more than that of which I dream, and can bring to myself those things that I thought impossible. From this moment, I shed all the old limitations that have been binding me and step forth free, ready and able to achieve, and I now plan toward that end. I am going to think only that which I want to see come true in my life. I will read with interest and fervor aloud and concentrate with zeal and devotion on this life pattern. I will give it a half-hour concentration every morning before I go forth to meet the world, and a half-hour each evening before retiring. I will not neglect this, or say I have not the time, or that my mind is too tired, for by saying this I am turning away from the very thing that will, by a little patient effort and perseverance, reveal me to myself a free and powerful man, able to control my life for its highest happiness in every detail, thus becoming a blessing and a light to all the world, and an actual demonstration that God meant every word when he said, "Be ye perfect even as your Father in heaven is perfect." So that's decided. I'm tired of seeing myself come under the untrue spell of limitations and lack. Others may believe in and talk this foolishness, but as for me, I am through forever with anything in thought, word, or deed that does not spell beauty and abundance. That is settled. I can accomplish miracles. Within the next year, I shall accomplish what would be even magic achievement for the effort of one lifetime. Through my faithful daily devotion to this simple life plan, I shall pursue it, not with the idea that I am creating, but merely uncovering the treasure that my Father has stored up for me. The thing is really done already and even now. This does not make me indifferent to my task, but the ultimate assured success, because it is really existing now, adds enthusiasm and a security to my effort. The result is so sure. How could I be foolish enough to believe otherwise? I refuse to be hindered by any of the old race beliefs, so out with you, everything that tries to discourage or terrorize me. You are nothing. I intend to demonstrate. From this moment on, I am not going to waste any more time merely believing, but shall make this effort, with the previous happy assurance that the work is already done, actively to realize my divine inheritance. I can do this by creating my life pattern and then nourishing it each day until that which is in the inner is expressed in the outer. What a wonderful game this is going to be! It is not going to be a strenuous mental effort and task, just a positive, though gentle recognition of my divinity. Who am I? I am myself, a free being born with a divine inheritance that increases the more I draw from it. This inheritance consists of superb health, unlimited abundance, dynamic power, and a life that is free from limitations and hampering conditions. At this point, I may begin to feel that I am anything but healthy, wealthy, and free, but I declare again, I am free. Begone the sense that tries to tell me otherwise. If I am going to heed these earthly senses, I might as well go back to my old stupid beliefs and not pursue this plan. But I know that within me is a vital power, against which everything else is powerless. I may expect all kinds of grinning monsters trying to show me how bound I am personally and financially, but I will not give ear to these tempters. I know this is not the truth, and I have taken my stand in the truth and my divinity seriously. In the face of every disappointment that occurs after I have commenced this life plan, I will endeavor to still every adverse emotion of fear and depression, which I might as well recognize as my two worst enemies to be overcome. If I don't seem able to act as freely and lavishly as I would like, I at least will make the spirit of the action big and free from fear, making the outer action a mere going through emotion, so that the spirit of my action becomes real and will ultimately manifest in its fullness. When the time comes for me to meet bills and obligations, I will change my attitude and train myself to love to meet them, knowing that only by circulating my supply can it grow and return to me. There is no loss. When I have overcome fear of finance, the organs of my body will be perfect in function. If I had unlimited wealth, I believe I would be well, and I know I would be free. Why can't I accept the fact that I have unlimited abundance and act accordingly? Most men must see to believe, obeying the testimony of the senses. I believe first, and then see the result of my faith. This in itself is the miracle. I live and luxuriate in the belief that my good is manifesting now. Once a week I will indulge in some expenditure that my senses tell me is rash, for I will overcome these facts that stand over me with a club. I will seize the club from fear's hand and use it as a wand to disarm all opposing forces. I will not think of my bank book in the amount indicated in my bank book. I see through this. I will teach my confidence to others this thing that I too am learning. When I seize my fear of loss, I will find that those who come to me will become open channels through which part of my supply will flow. I say part of my supply because this is not my only avenue of resource. I shall become more resourceful and develop with ease plans whereby my work will be facilitated, my compensation adjusted to meet all demands. I shall spend a part of my concentration hour in acknowledging all benefits that come my way, however small. I shall think of the many things I can do well and try to get the same mental control of my life's machinery. I shall expect the happy, unexpected thing, the magic, the undreamed of, and I will take the unwanted things and turn them into stepping stones toward the thing that is desired. And since each day is fully worthy of its own special launching, there are offered the following meditations for additional daily enrichment. Monday. This day I shall endeavor to realize that I am brand new, fresh from the heart of the infinite. I drop off every old limitation or belief about myself and proclaim my birthright, my divinity, that I am indeed a child of the Most High, made in the image and likeness of God. And because of this truth, I shall not think anything of myself that is not beautiful. When I find myself saying or thinking or doing that which is not in accordance with the highest, I shall immediately right about face, and instead of condemning myself, I shall gently remind myself that this is not the true and sweet way to speak, think, or act, and shall change my thought to correspond with divinity. If I am tempted to feel I am sick, I shall try to meditate upon the idea of perfect health, which I, in my true being, am one with. If I feel I lack, I shall say over and over again, God is my abundant supply, and the Father knoweth that I have need of all these things. But I will seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things shall be added. Tuesday. This day I shall throw aside all sense of anxiety or responsibility. I shall go into partnership with God, saying, God is for me. Who or what can be against me? I shall proclaim aloud, all things are possible with God, and I am free from all that binds or hinders. It is so. I shall sincerely keep this little agreement with myself today, and every time I feel a sense of burden or responsibility, I shall declare aloud, I am free. I am free. If there is any special thing that burdens, I shall say, I shall be able to fully meet this need or this debt at the right time. I shall trust implicitly in God as my partner, and I shall be His willing agent, keeping His word as my trust. At the 11th hour, if not before, I shall confidently expect fulfillment of his promise that thy Father hears thee even before thou askest. I shall feel this to be a wonderful day in which I shall demonstrate freedom from anxiety. I shall try to realize that God is nearer than breathing, nearer than my own heartbeat, and I know that when evening comes, I shall realize the peace that passeth all understanding. Wednesday. This day I'm going to be thankful and count my blessings. I shall say aloud, I am thankful for this whenever any small thing occurs that has good connected with it. I shall praise my hands when they perform their activities and give thanks for these useful members. When I walk, I shall be thankful for my feet that carry me about, and by being thankful, I shall find my feet will lead me to just the place or person that I am seeking. I shall be thankful for everything that happens today, and even if the day does not seem to be very bright for me, still I will be thankful that it is not any worse. I shall be determined to find something for which I can give thanks. This is really a form of prayer, and I am keeping God's word when I give thanks. For he tells us in the Bible to pray saying, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me, and I know that thou hearest me always. When I ask God to do anything for me, I will not doubt that he hears me any more than I would doubt any earthly good friend who gives me his promise that he will do something for me. Sometimes prayer is not answered just as we anticipate, but answered it surely will be, for God moves in a mysterious way his wonders to perform. Thursday. This day I am going to live in fairyland. I shall have the expectant attitude that all my dreams are soon coming true. Every time a bell rings or a knock comes to the door, I shall expect it to be a message of glad tidings. Before the day closes, I shall expect to realize at least one heart's desire. All day long, I shall have this song in my heart. I possess now, in concrete form, all the desires of my heart. I shall hold this blessing also over others who touch my path today. Every letter or parcel I open today, I shall expect to contain good news, thus forming the habit of attracting my good, and I shall keep on doing this until I demonstrate fully. I shall bless every piece of money that passes through my hands. I shall train myself in a new valuation. I shall think in a big, true way. When I give $5, it will seem no loss, but when I receive $5, it will seem a great benefit. I shall not clutch money. I will circulate it freely with no thought of lack. Only my best good can come to me, for I shall become a center to which that good loves to flow. I am a magnet and cannot escape my heart's desires. Friday. This day I shall devote to getting in touch and becoming at one with my cosmic sense. I shall not believe my 5 earthly senses, but I will endeavor to hear, see, and speak only the absolute good and beautiful. I will put the best light and construction on all I see or hear. I will not judge except through my divine eye and hearing. Thus will I rid myself of all condemnation, and by so doing, I myself shall be freed from the strife of tongues, and through this loving, simple way come under divine protection. I will not look with these physical eyes where they see age, lack, or limitation. I shall have a vision that looks through seeming appearances and sees naught but perfection. Even if the testimony of my earthly senses tells me I am wrong, still will I obey my highest cosmic sense until, by the very force of obedience and faith, based on the words of Jesus Christ, believing before I have received, I shall see manifest in my affairs a state of wholeness and happiness. thus becoming an inspiration to the world. For I, if I be lifted up, I shall draw all men unto me. Saturday. This day I shall consecrate my entire being to God. I shall come into the realization that my body is the temple of the living God, and as such, it is capable of drawing from within the elixirs of life, health, growth, and beauty, and becoming glorified and radiantly beautiful and possessed with abounding health. Its vitality and endurance is inexhaustible because it draws its strength from its source, which is spirit, and spirit is life in essence. I shall realize that I am the captain of my own lifeboat or body, and it is I who shall control, dictate, and command it and its actions. My feet and hands and eyes do not move unless I consciously or unconsciously command them. Why then should any organ or muscle of my body manifest limitations? I will see to it that I order my subconscious realm aright, that all action shall be harmonious. I will declare all the actions and functions of my body are harmonious because it is the temple of God, and God cannot dwell where there is any imperfection. Sunday. This day I shall try to be forgiving and just, seeing the other side of each question and learn the divine art of compassion. Instead of condemning, I will forgive. I will listen for intuition to guide me, and I will obey this voice. Intuition means the wisdom within. I will look upon the world as a mirror and see reflected only my own soul qualities. In this way, I will know when I see limitation, it must be in my own mental consciousness. But because I am a child of God, perfect, even as my Father in heaven is perfect, I will know that the seeming limitation is only relative truth and quickly change my vision based on my principle of truth. I will still my mind's eye and develop my soul eye. I will not allow my mind to rule, but will use this wonderful instrument of mind to reflect the song of my soul. It then becomes like a peaceful lake reflecting only beauty. And when my mind thinks only beauty, my life and affairs will truly glorify God. Light. Faith. For the true pilgrim knows that the supreme expression of life is abiding, knowing faith. Faith that knows there is God, both personal and principal, and entrusts to Him at all times and in all things. And it is for the purpose of showing that just such faith is not only reasonable and rational, but finally inescapable, that all that has gone before has been written. Should you have taken exception to the idea of a personal God, remember that personality exists in the objective fractionally, and that therefore it must be an attribute of the genetic subjective in toto. The Bible. Our Bible scriptures are majestic and invincible because they constitute a living record of human faith and divine promise united in fulfillment. Adam was tested, Abel was received, Cain was sent forth to learn, Noah was chosen as the vehicle of transmission, Abraham was made recipient of the covenant, Lot was rescued, Isaac was spared, Jacob was envisioned, Joseph was given responsibility. Moses became a liberator and educator. Successive extrications were effected. Balaam withheld the curse. Jordan was crossed and Jericho taken. Ruth found favor and Naomi was restored to inheritance. Hannah was made fruitful. Samuel was endowed with provision. David was exalted and safeguarded, blessedly inspired, and his sin pardoned. Solomon was enlightened and his reign made glorious. Elijah was sustained and translated. Elisha was empowered. Job was instructed and the prophets illumined. all to instill the reality of faith into resistant but cherished peoples. Those wonderful old books are to be taken just as they were written, realizing at all times the relative sense and purpose of each particular passage, not dogmatically insisting upon schism-serving literalness, but appreciating always the wide, deep universality of the subjective message. Nor is faith to be objectively crystallized, even in them, and that is why Jesus was vouchsafed as emancipator from rigid molds, though the bonds of doctrine became tightened again under the vehement influence of didactic Paul. The Ten Commandments today. Consider, for example, the Ten Commandments, then, which we nowadays expect even more of ourselves than they in actuality require, and which the writer has ventured to represent as follow. 1. God is altogether good. Abide in him. 2. Worship no material thing, personality, nor personal concept. 3. In speech be not flippant, nor soiled, nor presumptuous. 4. Separate from sordid things one day in 7, and be regenerate. 5. Have respect. 6. Destroy not. 7. Pollute not. 8. Take no unfair advantage. 9. Make no mischief. 10. Be not envious. The first and great, entrust to God and receive from him. The second and like, be sweet. To which might be appended 3 more. Be selfless, despite not, understand. Prayer. For in very truth there is no separateness, and in this gracious understanding prayer emerges from distant supplication into the atonement of perfect realization. In praying, then, do not make forlorn appeal, but offer yourself and all that you are beseeching unto God, who but awaits your love to lavish on you his. Reading. Should it be by chance that in years gone by the Bible has been thrust at you as a book of terror and intimidation, let the writer suggest that you open it again, and turning to some one of the shorter books, as for instance one of the lesser epistles of James or Jude or John, read the one you select through all by itself, disregarding everything else, and retaining only the subjective realization which will grow in you as you read. Then take one of the Gospels, and making suitable opportunity, read this in its entirety, without text hunting or exegesis, and absorb the single message as before. So you may read through the whole of the Scriptures, finding nourishment and peace. Miracles. And do not let discrepancies disturb you. They only exist in the objective fragmentary aspects, not in the composite unity of the whole. And do not be disquieted by the seeming preposterousness of some of the miracles, for science is already able to rationalize most of them, including even the submarine journey of Jonah. Each miracle had always its inspired purpose, to advance the steps in comprehension toward that to which we are now arriving. And if to this generation there are no objective signs given, it is that we shall reach up and be joined to that which transcends. Other sources. Nor is all spiritual inspiration limited to the canonical scriptures. Consider, for example, these stupendous soul guidings from Light on the Path. Before the eyes can see, they must be incapable of tears. Before the ear can hear, it must have lost its sensitiveness. Before the voice can speak, it must have lost the power to wound. Before the soul can stand, its feet must be washed in the blood of the heart. Complete and perfect disengagement from all that is objective, yet, though I speak with the tongue of men and of angels, and have not love, I am become as sounding brass or a tinkling cymbal. And though I have the gift of prophecy, and understand all mysteries and all knowledge, and though I have all faith, so that I could remove mountains, and have not love, I am nothing. And though I bestow all my goods to feed the poor, and though I give my body to be burned, and have not love, it profiteth me nothing. Love sureth long, and is kind. Love envieth not. Love vaunteth not itself, is not puffed up, doth not behave itself unseemingly, seeketh not her own, is not easily provoked, thinketh no evil, rejoiceth not in iniquity, but rejoiceth in the truth, beareth all things, believeth all things, hopeth all things, endureth all things. Love never faileth, but whether there be prophecies, they shall fail. Whether there be tongues, they shall cease. Whether there be knowledge, it shall vanish away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. But when that which is perfect is come, then that which is in part shall be done away. When I was a child, I spake as a child. I understood as a child. I thought as a child. But when I became a man, I put away childish things. For now we see through a glass darkly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then shall I know even as I am known. And now abideth faith, hope, love, these three, but the greatest of these is love. Boundless, all-cherishing, infinite love, which our chastenings are but to reveal. Love, which is the supreme fulfilling, in which all ache dissolved, and in which our restoration is eternal. So in conclusion, let us offer these inspired, dazzling lines which were bestowed through Mrs. Ella Wheeler Wilcox in a poem entitled Illusion. The truth. God and I in space alone, and nobody else in view. And where are the people, O Lord, I said, the earth below, and the sky overhead, and the dead whom once I knew? That was a dream, God smiled and said, a dream that seemed to be true. There were no people, living or dead. There was no earth and no sky overhead. There was only myself in you. Why do I feel no fear, I asked, meeting you here this way? For I have sinned, I know full well. And is there heaven, and is there hell, and is this the judgment day? Nay, those were but dreams, that great God said. Dreams that have ceased to be. There are no such things as fear or sin. There is no you, you never have been. There is nothing at all but me. He that is able to receive it, let him receive it. Peace. End of part 3 and end of the reading of the book titled The Gist of It for Healing, Health, and Happiness by Dr. Haydon Rochester. All right, my dear one, let me know you were here. Leave me a comment. Wow, wow, wow. Oh, that's all I can say. And before you head out, hit that like button if you like what I have here on this channel. Subscribe, come back often, and we'll catch each other at the next video.